Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Back to the Blockbuster. My name is Gaius,
You're muted.
and Owen's here this
Yes, I am back.
week.
I am back, guys. Thank you for keeping the helm strong while I was gone. I appreciate you guys taking control and really excited to be back and talking about some good stuff this week. So can't wait to get started.
Yeah, he was in apparently you were in like a deep sleep when we tried to record last week.
Yeah, when you get up at 3:30 and then have to do it for like 2 weeks straight, it's sometimes it takes a toll on you. And when your phone's on silent, then you sleep until 1 a.m. without any interruptions.
That's totally fine. We understand.
Sounds glorious, actually.
Yeah, we got through it, and and it's not like we're missing you this week because we did have a special episode drop today, and you're on that one, so you're on the Scream Anniversary episode. So you're still you're gonna be on twice this week. So
Let's go.
It worked out, and then of course Brittany is here as well. She's not missed a day yet.
I haven't used my PTO yet.
She even went to St. Louis and didn't use it. And then we had a stranger danger voice in the crowd. You probably heard him for a second. We were joined by our buddy Jack because we're going to be talking about a small independent movie that opened this weekend.
Just a small little independent movie, man.
That barely has any studio backing. I don't know how it made it, but it did. But yeah. But we're happy to have Jack on because he is a pretty big authority on comic book stuff in general and movies. So we're going to be getting some of his hot takes on this weekend's biggest movie.
Let's go. Jack, you are officially the second guest.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much, guys. And I love this movie. So I mean, it's a very small little movie that no one really watched yet. So
Yeah.
it's gonna be some good hot takes going here.
Yeah, I don't even know how I made it, but it did. But before we get to Spider-Man, where were we?
Surprise!
we have to hold off for a second and talk about we were supposed to talk about the Sex and the City sequel series and just like that. And it originally kind of started as a funny story about how people were upset about how a certain character dies on the opening episode, which is still funny in itself, but now it's morphed into this really different thing because that person in question is in a lot of hot mess right now. So I'm going to let Brittany kind of kick off where this kind of started, what the complaints were about as far as the episode and what happened and how it happened, and kind of where we're at now.
Let's get into it.
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to touch on it. I know I'm probably the only one on this podcast right now that watched it and that's interested in it, but I think our demographic does. I think we do have some people that are interested in at least the politics of it. So Sex and the City released a new chapter on HBO Max called And Just Like That. It's kind of a spinoff. It's a new series. And spoiler alert, they kill off Big, which is like a character that everyone loves to hate.
Okay.
Because he's just an asshole throughout the entire show.
And you said his name is Big?
He's Mr.
He
Big.
goes by that's like his nickname on the show, but
Mr.
we
Big.
find out in the last movie that his name is actually John.
Okay.
They say it a million times in this series, so it's like before in the show it was kind of a secret what his actual name was. People were trying to figure out what his name was.
Number one, throughout the entire thing, she was
yeah,
the dude that she always went back to, Mr. Big.
That was
He's like the rich finance guy who took advantage of her, and he was so toxic to her, and we all could see it, and everyone was fighting it, but they finally got married, and he left her at the altar in the movie. But I guess it's worked out since. But they show their life; they're very happy together, and there's this air to the show where you can tell something is about to go wrong because it's things are going so right that something is going to go wrong. So they end up killing him off.
Happening.
Yeah,
basically,
especially for their relationship. Yeah, so they end up killing him off in a terrible way. He was on a Peloton and getting off the Peloton and has a heart attack. So there's definitely time for Carrie to call 911. She gets home and he's laying there still alive. And it's enough time where, I mean, people have online been saying if she would have called 911, they would have told her how to do CPR and everything, and they could have actually saved him. So
was this episode sponsored by Nordic Track? Or was
Peloton?
kill the
No, I'm saying they're
the competition.
The competition,
the competition.
Well, if you get on a Peloton, you'll die.
Yeah, if you ride that, you will die.
Dude,
So Ryan Reynolds got wind of this whole controversy over the Peloton. So that's when he worked with his production team to get this Peloton commercial out within like 72 hours. That's where the controversy kind of lies, because right now Big's character, Chris Noth, the actor, is now, there's quite a bit of controversy because he is getting canceled for sexual allegations. So they pulled the commercial from air, so it's not even on TV or online anymore. But I mean, and he's not on the show because he died. So.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
very lucky for that.
Read something to clarify what they're claiming that he did. It says 3 different women have accused him of either sexual assault or sexually inappropriate behavior. One woman said that he raped her in her LA apartment back in 2004. Another woman said he's guilty of sexually assaulting her back in 2015 at his New York City apartment. And then an 18-year-old in 2010 claims that he tried to grope her at the restaurant that she worked at as a hostess. He of course is denying all this. He said that the story is a complete fabrication and the alleged accounts detailed throughout read like a piece of bad fiction. That's what he said to his rep. They must think there's some truth to what's going on because his agency, A3 Artist Agency, dropped him. He was also a series regular on The Equalizer on CBS with Queen Latifah, and he just got fired from that today.
Wow.
So, and I do want to say that he is a very common name in what the entertainment knows as the blinds. I don't know if you guys have ever read the blinds.
Oh, what is that?
They're like anonymous submissions from people all over the world. And you can read them on Instagram or Twitter or Reddit. People on there have been speculating for a long time that he's been a controversial person. So it was no shock to the entertainment industry that this is all coming out, because it's been in the blinds. It's been submitted anonymously for a long time.
I mean, this was 2004 all the way to 2015. Like
that seems like
the whole spread of that. That's a lot, like a long time for this, like a wide span of time, which means there's probably some people who haven't come forward or
people have, though, anonymously on like Reddit, Twitter, like all these other outlets.
But anonymously doesn't really help the cause.
Yeah.
So my only question would be, what was the last allegation? Like, what was that, 2018?
Or like, I think it's 15, I think.
So like the Sex and the City show was still prevalent even back then.
Yeah, like if you go all the way back to like 2004 when apparently this started, like, I mean,
movies have been out by then. There's a lot of in between when he wasn't like in the news that you could have just been like, gotten what they really deserve, justice. But now it's just because of the timing. It's like, it's like not denying anything, but it's just like because this
timing is hard.
Now it's coming out now when you could have had 10 years when it could be like an easy civil suit, like quietly done the right way, instead of in the media now it is, and it's a controversy and people are questioning stuff now.
Yeah, kind of introduced. It says, oh, the co-stars are so saddened by this news. There's nothing that just kind of says, hey, this is kind of what's going on. It's talking about, oh, it sucks for him that this is happening. I mean, even when you read in the article, none of them really say anything about it. It's just them trying to buff up news about this, because I bet like they're all probably going to keep their mouths shut about what they actually think, because they might have been harassed or anything on set for years.
I thought it was weird that they released a joint statement like together. Like, I mean, I get they're like they're the trio on the show, but it seemed like something that if you were going to address it, it should have been their own personal addressment of it, instead of like a joint statement released to like the trades and stuff, instead of like a more personal touch. It just feels like a little weird. I mean, like, especially coming from a show where like it's a show that celebrates womanhood and like, and women. So I guess I would just expect a little bit more of a personal touch from them, instead of like a blanket joint statement that was kind of short and kind of didn't really, I mean, it hit the notes that all those statements kind of hit, I guess, when this stuff happens.
I think you make a good point, though, guys. With this new chapter of the show, they're very much like trying to be woke, because Sex and the City is controversial because they don't have any Black characters. They're just known for not portraying New York the way that it should have been in the 90s.
Oh my God, don't even get me started on that.
No, but before we go there, but I just want to say, so now this go around, they're trying to do it over in a different way, where there's woke characters and there's characters that are transgender and all of this stuff. And meanwhile, they have a character on the show that has sexual allegations. So it's kind of like, where do you stand on this issue? I think the show needs to make a statement, if anything.
Was it Mr. Big who had the sexual allegations in the show?
No.
No.
That would have been.
No, like
they're
in
saying
real
the
life.
show should say something to distance themselves from the Mr. Big.
Yeah.
I don't feel like they don't have to, because like it was one episode, he's done, he's not on it anymore. They killed him off. I wonder if they feel like it's kind of like, well, he's not a part of that world anymore. Do we really need to address it as a show?
Oh, I thought, Brittany, what you were saying was more like they should have a character who is being accused of something, not necessarily that character. Maybe they should have some sort of Me Too statement from the show and like written into the script. Is that kind of what you were saying?
I think she was meaning like an official statement, like the producers.
Yeah.
That was official statement.
Yeah. Official statement's like, we don't condone them, and we did not plan to kill him off in the first episode too. But mean,
like the show did Samantha so dirty because she didn't want to be on it. Samantha Kim Cattrall didn't want to be on the show. They made it sound like she left the friend group because of money issues, which in real life that does portray kind of what happened.
So dirty.
Yeah, but like,
and it was such a dirty move. And now they're just letting this guy that's accused of all these sexual allegations run around freely on the show. Well, I guess he's dead now, but I mean, he was running around freely.
Yeah, well, he's
dead, so he's 6 feet under in Sex and the City universe. But speaking of Samantha, I would loved to have seen her and how she reacts to this new New York City. Like,
I mean, I think she's doing it right by not saying anything.
No,
I think that's
exactly
the best statement. She's like not even, she posted a picture of her like drinking cocktails in like London, and she was like having a day or whatever.
It's because like in New York in the 90s, like so desensitized, it was almost like a second coming of like Mad Men. So like I feel like the joint statement from all the three like girls who like just witnessed it, they're like, we witnessed it and we're just gonna go together with this and move on. Like the 90s New York City was crazy. Like there's episodes of Samantha picking up the doorman in lingerie and a trench coat. Like that show
Samantha was the best character.
That is like, it's wild enough already.
Yeah.
It's interesting what you say about the blinds, though. I mean, like just knowing what that is, like if people are sending those in like secretly, like this is who this guy is and this is what we know, that makes me wonder what people like Sarah Jessica Parker or Cynthia Nixon, do they have any idea? Or are they kind of just were like, maybe, I don't know, like makes me wonder what people close to him in the industry knew and didn't say anything about.
They're saddened by the news.
I mean, everyone knew about Harvey Weinstein and look what happened.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, yeah, you're right. A lot of big people continue to work with him, like Gwyneth Paltrow. Right. Yeah, I mean, like, yeah, you're right.
You guys, if you want to read the blinds, it's Dumois on Instagram. It's pretty interesting. I mean, they say a lot of things about, you can choose to believe it or choose to not, but it's just, I think it's fascinating. Some of it is pretty spot on, the amount of people that are coming out and saying the same thing about the same person. So it's like, kind of have to believe it.
I think actually might go back to his time on Law and Order too, because the actress on that show, after all these claims came out, accused him of inappropriate behavior on set, like hours after those stories went public. So yeah, I guess it's unfortunate. I just thought the timing was so interesting, how it went from like he was going to be part of this whole like little viral ad campaign with Peloton because how his character died, and it was supposed to be this funny kind of thing because everyone's reaction to it.
Dude, the Peloton board members are just like, we planned it so perfectly.
People are going back to work too and selling their Pelotons like they don't need them anymore because gyms are opening back up, and now they're like another stab in the back.
The guy who came up with that marketing campaign like was a genius for like 3 days, and now
dude, he was.
It was Ryan Reynolds. It was like Ryan Reynolds' production company.
He threw it together in a big way last minute. I mean, he had done something like that before. Even with
saved the money from the Mint commercials. You know?
Yeah, he did Deadpool. He did a Deadpool Peloton commercial.
Yeah, so he worked quick, and he probably has said no. He's like, I'm not gonna even comment. I'm just gonna just sneak away and go hang out with my wife.
He's like, what commercial?
Like what commercial? I don't remember it.
They yanked that off the air so fast. They were like,
gin commercial?
It doesn't even exist.
Well, yeah, I mean, but we should point out that he hasn't been charged with anything, and he is denying it through his reps, like they always do. So
until proven guilty and according to law.
But like when he started losing jobs like left and right, I was like, yeah, maybe he is canceled now, because the Equalizer one was the big one. They said like moving forward, he will no longer be a part of the show. He has like one original episode left that they already taped, so they can't like do anything about that. But
it'd be one of their most watched shows, though.
I mean, it's
least watched shows.
It's on CBS. I mean, my mom likes it. It's like I don't watch it.
Is it at this point where I'm wondering now, like with whole cancel culture and everything, this is a perfect point, is that allegations can get you fired and will get you fired. But do you guys think that it's mostly it's got to basically be like a joint effort of multiple allegations. It's because you never hear like an allegation was said against him and now he's being fired. It's always, well, there are multiple allegations that are being.
I'll just say this: if it happened once, it's happened multiple times. It's never a freak accident with this type of stuff. Like,
once a creep, always a creep.
Yeah.
And I don't want to deep dive into creepiness in Hollywood because we can do it a whole episode.
I mean, like, we talked about it a bit last week with like Ansel Elgort talking about West Side Story, and like, you know, he managed to kind of like, he was accused of things, but he managed to kind of get around it a little bit because there was like the gap in between the movie coming out and it got delayed a year because of COVID. So Ansel Elgort kind of maneuvered his way out of that a bit, but there are some people that even think now that's part of the reason why the movie didn't do that well, because some people were like, you know, the internet doesn't forget, like, we heard what you did and you need to be called out for it. It's interesting how this movie, like when you start losing your jobs left and right, it just makes me think that like they are like, we believe this to be true, like we don't think it's like a coincidence, like there's no, like, some people think that you should wait and see how it plays out, but like some of these shows have to protect themselves, like the other agencies have to protect themselves, and it becomes problematic having someone like him be associated. So I get it.
Yeah. And I'll just say one more thing about this. I've been a part of a sexual allegation. It didn't end up in my favor. I was fired from the set because of me stepping up. And one day I'll tell the story. I think I've told you guys off air this full story before, but it didn't end up working out in my favor. And this was in 2014, I think. 2015 maybe. That wasn't that long ago. So if these girls had these sexual allegations, maybe they were scared. I mean, that's a lot of the Harvey Weinstein stuff was because they were scared to come forward. They were going to lose their jobs, and I did. So
100%.
It's like one day I'll tell the full story on the podcast, but it's too long to get into right now. But
that's the thing that people always say, right? When these stories come out, the first thing you hear from someone is like, what took them so long? And like, this happened all the way in like 2004 and 10 and 15. Like, why are they doing this now? But like you said, there's a lot of reasons
this
why.
Guy tried to blackball me from working ever again. I really thought I wasn't going to be able to find a job ever again in the industry because of this.
That's why they never came forward, because once you lose one job, no one's going to hire you again sometimes.
I think some people.
Luckily, I had proof.
Some people are so cynical sometimes too, because they're like, well, if one person tells this story, I bet you so and so just piggybacking off that story. Like, no, just sometimes it takes one person being brave enough to do it, and then that other person feels like they can now talk about it. So
that's how the whole movement started.
Like I said, with him losing his jobs and all that stuff left and right, I think that a lot of people feel like there's some truth to what he's being accused of. So.
Yeah, but I just don't feel bad for the dude sitting on royalties from Sex and the City, one of the most popular shows of all time. So, boo-hoo. Stop touching people.
Yeah, at the end of the day, he'll still be okay. He just won't,
sorry, we won't see your 60-year-old ass on TV anymore.
Oh, yeah.
There was a scene. I just want to say one more thing about, and just like that.
All right, one more thing.
And this is about the show. This isn't about like sexual allegation stuff, but this is another cringy moment from the show that is a reason I don't know if I want to keep watching it. But there was a scene when Sarah Jessica Parker, when Carrie asked Big to like jerk off in front of her. And it was like, what?
See, like, now when you say that, I mean, I don't want to watch the whole show, nor do I want to go to the exact scene out of context, but
it was a questionable moment for everyone involved.
Did Louis C.K. write that episode?
Well, they're always trying to push the
maybe,
right?
Hey man, I mean, hey, it's 2021. You have no idea what Mr. Big and Carrie were into from 1,000.
There's a gap.
They're trying to spice it up.
But anyway, Spider-Man.
So anyway, moving
Spider-Man
on.
shoots webs.
Anyway, as we're talking about jerking off,
Sex and the City and someone that everyone loves. Spider-Man opened over the weekend. I know myself and the guy saw it. Brittany has not seen it yet.
For the record, I do want to see it, but I'm gonna allow spoilers in this.
Yeah,
because I know I didn't see it. Like I didn't do the homework this weekend, so I apologize.
No,
hey, it's all right.
I will say I'm not a big person on hating on spoilers. Like I was at the bar on Thursday, and I just really needed to know one thing, and they told me, I was like, it didn't ruin it for me. Yeah. And they told me that Murdoch was in it. And I was like, all right, cool, fine.
I found I couldn't talk about the things I liked.
This is a spoiler episode, by the way.
Oh yeah. Sorry, big spoiler.
Spoilers alert ahead, guys. If you're listening, you haven't seen it, and you want to be surprised.
Yeah.
Turn it off.
Do not listen.
Well, I do want to talk about, and Brittany, you can chime in on this too, like what it's box office too, like to start, what that kind of means for the industry right now and how big this actually is, even with the pandemic, people saying people aren't going to the movies. Well, Spider-Man opened it originally said 253 million over the weekend. It was the third biggest opening ever behind Endgame and Infinity War. And then they released the actuals today, and it actually went up to 260 million domestic, and it's now the second biggest opening ever. And it globally, it grossed 600.8 million in its first weekend. It only trails globally, it trails Endgame, which opened to 1.2 billion globally when it opened. And
might I add you, that movie had 20 years of 20 movies of backup to it.
Yeah, like there's an excuse for Endgame to have all that pent up.
Yeah.
Like, everyone wants to see it. I'm kind of curious. Once we talk about like what we liked about it and everything, like I also would like to know what you think made this kind of work with the masses and why you think it became such a big deal this weekend, and probably why it will remain a big deal throughout December and longer. I don't think it has any. The Matrix might be its own competition, but I don't think I think Spider-Man is just going to be the movie to see during the rest of the holiday season for a lot of people, with people going back multiple times to see it again, I think, because it seems like everyone loves it.
Yeah, my brother's already seen it twice.
Oh my, seriously?
Yeah, and just to like kind of discuss like the word of mouth, it has a 99% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes. Its critic score is 94%. It has an A+.
All of these are deserved, by the way. Every single one of these freaking things is deserved. Like,
yeah, and I think it's IMDb
Feige
super high too.
Executed. Feige put his whole entire arm on the table and was like, I'm giving you guys the Spider-Man story for the past 2 decades that you're gonna love.
Yeah.
Here you go.
Yeah, I wonder if he wants to take more credit. Is it him or is Sony gonna try like, well, we were there too, like, like we're involved as well.
They gave up the money for it, and that's about it.
Yeah.
I mean, their original strategy when they first bought the IPs, they said, I want Spider-Man and X-Men. That's it. Those are the money makers, and proof is in the pudding right there.
We're wrong.
They weren't wrong. They just weren't completely right. They should have just taken all of Marvel, but that's neither here nor there now.
Yeah.
But
like, it wouldn't have been the same though.
It wouldn't have. But it's still just, the movie was perfect. From everything from the beginning, how you literally ended from Far From Home into this, it's perfect. There was no seamlessly starting it off.
Yeah, I agree. I was surprised by how much I loved it. I mean, there was like, of course, there's a lot of fan service and stuff in it, which but it ends up being like this really cool celebration of like the whole franchise, like not just like to Spider-Man, but like, starting with Sam Raimi's original trilogy and then even the 2 Amazing Spider-Man movies, like it basically kind of tries to say, like there's something to love about all of those, and like we want to celebrate that while also letting Tom Holland kind of really grow into that part now. Like I think he, in my opinion, is fully like owns that role now, but that's just my opinion compared to the other two. But I think it took this kind of movie where he's forced to really grow up and kind of really face something like really major for this to kind of happen. And that's what I kind of enjoyed about it overall, as far as like, how it worked on an emotional level. It was just satisfying, like the entire thing.
Yeah, I think pointing out the differences in each of them, but also highlighting their similarities was done so well, because I mean, obviously each Spider-Man movie is like, I guess you could say franchise is different with the trilogy now, Tobey Maguire's and then Andrew Garfield's, but the fact that they kept the similarities, and that's a credit to whoever was directing all 3 of them.
John Watts,
yeah, it's just
Watts,
like,
man, he came through.
Yeah, but I also try to think like the director of each of Andrew Garfield's and the director of Tobey Maguire's, they decided to keep the heart of that Spider-Man character, and they created like exactly what they wanted to do. And so even though they were different, they still all had the heart of Spider-Man, and you could all kind of tell. And even though necessarily like different characters different actors have played them, when you saw all of them together, it really just made your heart just kind of skip and jump. And you're like, oh my gosh, like they're all the same. And I loved all those movies, and now they're all together, and I love this movie now.
Yeah.
See, for me, the 3 Spider-Men, they all kind of, like Gay, as you said, it kind of wrapped up Tom, like he's really he's the real Spider-Man who's going to grow into being this adult who is Spider-Man superhero. Tobey kind of finally got to be the mentor that he never got with anyone in his trilogies. He got to be the father, and then Andrew just finally got to do basically this was his third movie in my opinion. Like this, he killed it, man. Like he deserves. I've seen stuff on like Reddit. It's like put Venom and Andrew Garfield in a universe and let them have fun. Like that, they fit so perfectly together. And I mean, Gase, do you know why they never made a third of Garfield? Because I can't remember why, but like
there was wasn't what like so the Amazing Spider-Man 2 wasn't well received. It got bad reviews. It made a decent amount of money globally, but it topped out at like 200 million here, and that was deemed kind of a failure because that was pretty much its budget.
Yeah, I mean, it made globally 750.
Yeah, so it was supposed to, and they were also planning to do all this stuff with Sony, like the Sony stuff. They were going to do like a Sinister Six thing, and then the Spider-Man 3. They had all these ideas, and then they were like, no one really liked the movie, so you need to kind of, and to his credit, Andrew Garfield loves that character. He really grew up wanting to play Spider-Man. He was kind of heartbroken that he didn't really get to see a third one out, or the second one didn't really work the way it
didn't land the right way it should have. But like
they were trying to do too much. They were trying too much. They were like stuffing a lot into it because Sony got greedy and they were like, let's just throw in the entire like kitchen sink and see what works.
He didn't get any closure.
Yeah, and I think that's what the cool thing about this for him is that I thought it was a good redemption thing for his Spider-Man. It was like, okay, like we did a poll on Joe Blow about who is the best Spider-Man. Tobey Maguire is winning that poll. But other than Tom Holland, I've always thought Andrew Garfield was a better Spider-Man than.
Well, there's only 3.
So you're ranking Tom, Andrew, Toby?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I kind of felt that more watching it. I think Andrew Garfield nails the humor really well. Like even like in this one, I felt it especially that he understands the assignment, as they say. And he's really, he really kind of gets the banter. I know some people complain in his movies that his Peter Parker wasn't nerdy enough, like he was like too cool and like more like emo than nerdy. But like, it was just like a different take on it. I always thought he was really good. He was just like the victim of like the Amazing Spider-Man's fine. I actually like that one, but the second one got a bad rap, and I think he got wrapped up in that bad rap, even though he was good in it.
And the writing for this one mentions all of that when they're like talking amongst each other. It's like he's like, wait, you guys fought awesome characters. I fought a Russian and a rhinoceros for a minute. We didn't even get to see it. He doesn't even like. They clearly mentioned like I didn't even get a third movie, but they without saying it, they said I didn't get a third movie.
What I'm wondering is in the comics, I didn't read all the Spider-Man comics growing up, but like, I mean, the reason that I like Tobey Maguire is because he's not traditionally like attractive, and so he kind of plays that sort of nerdy like
pause.
What?
All I'm saying is that you got Andrew Garfield and Tom Holland who were like good looking dudes, and they are supposed to play like this sort of inconspicuous like nerd who no one ever looks at, and then you got Toby who's like this. The way he plays that character, it's like I can totally understand why people weren't looking at him, and like they were totally not suspicious of him at all. But these other two, I feel like I'm like, they're obviously not who they say they are.
But they all dated their female counterparts
in real life.
You guys noticed that?
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, they have.
It's Spider-Man.
Just my own little interesting tidbit.
It's something about the upside down kiss. I gotta be.
I'll do it. Tom Holland hasn't done one yet.
No, he hasn't done one, huh?
No, he hasn't done one. No. Speaking on MJ, I would say she did really well. Zendaya. I don't know how to say her name really. I just say
Zendaya. I think I've been trying to go. I'm going through this.
Zendaya.
So I'm gonna go with Z. She did phenomenal. She held her own, like you said. She understood her assignment like very well.
Yeah, I thought she was great too. I was talking to someone else about this. Like, she's really good because like I've seen her in other stuff where she comes off older than her age. Like, she's really good at kind of like playing these roles where she can seem older than she is, and then also kind of like there's moments when she feels like a genuine like 17-year-old in the movie. Like, especially like some of the moments towards the end where like they have to say like goodbye to each other and all that. Like, I thought she handled that especially well, and I honestly think the movie works. I'm going to throw in Ned too. The movie works well because those characters are so defined at this point. And John Watts understands those characters, and he makes you like feel for all three of them as a unit. And that's why I think that the movie works well.
Ned is absolutely classic, but he's just sitting in all three of them. And he's just like, so, you got a Ned? Yeah, I did. Died in my arms. After he tried to kill me. And you think Garfield behind him was like, I know, same man.
Yeah.
So Hobgoblin.
Yeah,
that's one of my wishes.
I think that they finally did Zendaya justice with the writing. I think the first two, she didn't really get a chance to. I know they were introducing her character as like the new MJ, but Gaius knows this. I didn't think that it worked in the first couple. I think that her character was very like they didn't write her well enough for her to act like all the way to the top and for her to show her true ability. But this one for sure, they actually helped her out a lot. Finally with the writing, because Gaius knows Zendaya is not my number one fan.
Well,
I think she finally did a good job.
well, you have to understand the context of their relationship. Like of the, like not like their legitimate like time lapse of relationship. Peter gets bit like sophomore year of high school, and then they go on a trip, and then the next thing you see is that they're finally together. So this one finally, she knows Peter. She knows like when she turns to Doc Ock, she's like, because that's what he does. Like that's where like that the relationship was just like flirty up for this one, but this one's what you're talking that real one that we always know.
She had like minimal screen time in Homecoming, right? I mean, she didn't really have like a ton of.
Oh
yeah. I mean, you could tell they were setting her up for like being like the girlfriend, but she didn't really have a lot to do in Homecoming. And I think in Far From Home, she does have a lot to do. But I mean, I always talked about this before. Like, he doesn't really like I was trying the best way to describe it. I actually love her delivery and stuff. Like, you know, the whole like, I really don't care about things, but I do. That kind of like thing that she has going on. But I think
like how they made it flirty.
They managed to make a good combination of that in this, where she was actually growing as a character too. But she is caring about things. She cares about him. She cares about her friendships with, you know, the trio and all that. And she's also like, you know, I thought it was interesting too that she is like just fiercely dedicated. Like there's never once where she's like wavering, like we can't do this or I don't have your back. And the same thing with Ned. Like there's no like moment of like I don't think we can do this. This whole like the unit that they have where they're like, no, this is what we do. We plan it out. We'll figure it out. Let's do this. That goes all the way until the end of the movie until they're like, well, there's no more planning. There's nothing else we can do except for this one thing. And you're not gonna like it, but this is the only thing we can do.
And it's different too because we didn't have that. Spider-Man doesn't have any friends in the first 5 movies.
Yeah, that's true, right? He doesn't.
He has 0 friends.
He has Osborn.
In the first one, he has Aunt May and his annoying landlord and his daughter across the hallway who bakes some cookies.
The daughter that's like super into him, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like when in Spider-Man 3, when he's like, cookies.
At least in the movies, Harry Osborn was barely his friend because he seemed like he was still kind of taking advantage of him. Like, oh, Peter, you're smart. like, can you do this for me? Like, their friendship wasn't really like well established in the first one, and then by the time you get to the second one,
wait, hold on. Who was Harry Osborn in the first one?
James
Franco. What was his name?
Yeah, James Franco.
James Franco. Yeah, like I like their relationship, but the next one when it was a little weirder when we were talking like super emo goth, played by that dude. I can't forget his name.
Topher.
Yeah. So like it's interesting though because like you're right. I didn't even think about that he doesn't really have a ton of friends, and he ends up in his respective movies. He ends up dating beautiful girls. He ends up with Gwen Stacy, even though he has no real social life. And then Tobey Maguire ends up with MJ. So to be fair though, their relationship is very like troubled. Right by the time you get to Spider-Man 3, they're not exactly like in the best place as far as like him balancing being Spider-Man
and Toby. We're talking Toby, right?
Toby, and trying to maintain the relationship with her.
No, yeah, and again, credit to the fucking writers. They wrapped it up. He looked at Andrew and was like, yeah, we figured it out, kind of. Yeah, it's working. So that sewed it up for my 15-year-old heart, finally, knowing that Mary Jane Watson. Let me say that again for all the listeners. Mary Jane Watson. All right, Mary Jane Watson. That they're married. It's great. I love that. And then it's great. I mean, Gwen Stacy, again, we didn't get a third, so we don't really know how that kind of whole turns out. But
there's a whole
like, I think that Toby was saying that there might be an MJ out in Andrew's universe that he has yet to find, which I also thought was really good writing.
Is Gwen Stacy in the comic books?
Gwen Stacy.
Yeah. She's either Spider-Woman, depending on the universe. Into the Spider-Verse, she is Spider-Woman. And Spider-Man, the Amazing Spider-Man series, she's just the MJ.
Yeah, so like in the comic books, like she it's actually one of the better written stories in the comics where she's like his first real like important girlfriend, and then the Green Goblin finds out who he is, like who he's really Peter Parker, And of course, all those lives kind of collide because now that he knows who he is, he can go after people that he loves, basically. And he ends up, I think in the comic books, he's like on the glider and he like throws her down.
Yeah.
And then Peter.
It's pretty brutal, like 80s, like just.
And Spider-Man tries to catch her with the web, and he does catch her, but it like snaps her neck or something, and she dies.
Yeah, so they kind of redo that in the Amazing Spider-Man 2. She falls all the way down, and he catches her with a web, and she basically just like snaps like that.
By the way, for a movie that's like all over the place and like it has its issues, that stuff works. I mean, like I thought that all that was pretty good in the Amazing Spider-Man 2, and I'm glad that he got his redemption moment with that too. He got to save the girl.
Well, yeah, let's save the final scene for the before we get to that, because
did you like how they introduced him? I liked how it wasn't like
we got to talk about the spell first. Like we got to talk about how they all got there first.
Got there. I heard, yeah.
One, Doctor Strange, awesome, like very perfectly was in there, like not too much, not too little. Like it wasn't like a Tony Stark, like I'm gonna be in it for 5 minutes. He was there. He was part of the thing.
Yeah,
but he's hilarious. He's like, you didn't ask the MIT admissions if you could, convince them.
Yeah.
No.
I love that because no high schooler would think that. They're like, oh, I got denied. I'm never going to call.
But he's not a high schooler. He's freaking Peter Parker. He's been to space. God damn it.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to put it in the perspective of his character where it's
but like he should know. He should know that like he can call like anybody because he's Peter Parker, dude. But as Doctor Strange says, like, I sometimes forget that you're actually only about 17 and a half years old.
Yeah.
So I forgive you.
No, yeah. I think that the spell, the whole way that it was introduced, it came a lot quicker than I thought. I mean, it was pretty much like immediate. And so I was a little surprised by that. I thought there was going to be a lot more buildup to sort of this like not quantum, that's a whole different Marvel thing, this multiverse sort of explosion. And so that happening so quickly, I was actually a little bit intrigued by that. I thought that it was going to be a little bit more of a buildup, but it left it enough time for us to develop the villains. And that's what I loved, was because it actually gave the villains more screen time. It gave the more Peter Parkers more screen time. And because my worst fear was that everything was going to be in it, but they were going to get a shout out and they were going to show up and then kind of be like, hey, I'm here.
The last 20 minutes or something. I thought
but they were in it for a long time. And so the fact that they kind of got right to it was definitely a breath of fresh air.
And they didn't waste time with it too. They didn't like portal. It's like the two ones we wanted to see. The first, Sandman like shows up randomly. Jamie Foxx has this thing. Lizard like is already caught. Like, we're great, cool, awesome, sweet. Lizard, don't need to deal with him. But I think Doc Ock, or how would you rank the villains now in their return? Like Jamie Foxx did pretty good, but like I actually
like Willem Dafoe the most out of the villains. I mean, only because there was more conflict involved with Willem Dafoe and his Green Goblin. He like kind of like affected the story a bit more. So I would rank him first of the people that came back. And then
are you talking about like your favorite ones of the movie, or
in the movie, as far as
the movie, like how they came back, like how they were written? Like, you could really majorly flop like bringing back like nostalgic characters like that.
Yeah, I was reminded by how scary Willem Dafoe is. Willem Dafoe can be so scary. There's certain times in that movie where I was like, this guy like is on a whole different level. Like Tom Holland talked about how like the most intense scenes that he did were like the scenes that he had to do like kind of one-on-one with like Willem Dafoe, like when they're fighting or like being like antagonistic toward each other, because he said that Willem Dafoe just like brings it every single time. Like it's just like, and he can cut it off. He said when they're done and they're cut, he's like they're laughing, but like he was like I was actually like scared during certain moments.
Because he's a British trained actor. They're not those psychos who do method acting, can't turn it off like the normal people. Both acting for a reason. I would say but I like Doc Ock better, because the last thing he says is, I will not die a monster, in his trilogy. And in this one, he comes full circle. And again, it sealed my 15-year-old like fate hard up again. So I think I'm just real nostalgic towards Tobey Maguire, that universe right now. But I think Doc Ock, then Green Goblin, because that dude was a savage, like absolute savage. And they just kind of missed. I just wish they had that little part where like, instead of him going to see Aunt May, we could see like him concocting that plan in his head a little bit, like to see it. So I wish we could have seen that, but you can't, so much time in the movie. And then Jamie Foxx and the Lizard,
Yeah.
did justice, got their justice, but that really wasn't about them.
Brittany, what did you think of
and Sandman last? He was confusing as hell.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Brittany, what did you think of Doc Ock and the Green Goblin in like the original Spider-Man trilogy?
I mean, William Dafoe, I agree, is a terrifying actor in general. In anything he does. And I did see a clip, I think it was recently, about his teeth, like the teeth thing, where he like changed his teeth in the movie or something. Yeah, like they made him look scarier when he was the villain versus his like real teeth. I mean, I think he's a great actor in general, but yeah, it's been a while since I've seen those movies. So I'm curious to see this new Spider-Man just going in with, I mean, these are villains from way in the past. So that's interesting.
That was my favorite scene, probably maybe in the entire movie that was not action related, was when Tom Holland realizes that Green Goblin is Green Goblin and no longer Harry Osborn. That scene was like,
so I mean, what year did those movies come out? What year were Tobey Maguire?
That was early 2000s.
Bro, that was
so like we were kids.
I was 7 years old, I think, when the first one came out. And I remember that. 2002. 2002 was when the first one came out.
Okay, I was 10.
Yeah,
I just graduated high school. I was 8. I was older than the rest of you.
Owen was what?
I was 6.
6, yeah. How good? Like, see, the writing is gone generate. Like this movie specifically has like literally fan serviced everyone of all decades, and that speaks to the box office, dude.
Yeah, I agree. I think that the reason it makes so much money is because, I mean, you put a movie out like Nightmare Alley, and it's going to go seen by a lot of adults, and it's not going to go to, I mean, kids are going to go and see it. So, I mean, if you put a movie out like this, every single person, their kids, their grandparents, they're going to like it, and they're going to go and see it, and anyone can enjoy it. And it is family fun. It's got some cool action in it, but not aggressive gore that's going to scare anyone away. So, I mean, that's going to be a tribute to why it's making so much money, is because it speaks to seriously every single person that enjoys hero story.
Yeah, like think about a person who made bad life decisions and had a kid at 28. He's got to, take these kids somewhere to the movie theaters. This is perfect because it services everyone.
Yeah.
His Spider-Man, both of yours, it's awesome.
Yeah.
Generational. Yeah. I mean, that's the kind of thing I noticed when I saw it was a packed theater, and it was like, I mean, there were older people there. They're in their 20s. There were a bunch of kids. So there was like a lot of like, it is a very generational franchise, and he's also a popular character in general. So I mean, I can see why like it's doing as well as it did. And credit to the marketing, because like they gave you a little bit of time, and they tried their best not to reveal all their secrets, even though there were leaks and stuff. They were like, oh no, like that's not true. They had Andrew Garfield lying like all fall when he was getting interviewed about his other movies. Like, I'm not in it. I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, that's the thing that I'll say, that while I was watching it left me a little bit frustrated, because seriously, everything that we have talked about on this podcast before about Spider-Man, anything that people have found in YouTube videos, pretty much every sort of surprise that could have happened, it happened. And so that's what kind of left me a little bit of a, I wouldn't say bad taste in my mouth, but when something happened, I was like, yep, I knew that already. I knew that was going to happen. Or, oh, they all came back. Yes, I knew that. The Daredevil thing, that surprised me. And the one thing, the biggest surprise out of it all was Ned being a sorcerer. That was the thing that I was so happy about, because I did not expect it.
Okay, I think the Ned thing was the sorcerer. Like, anyone puts on the ring, you can do it. And like,
no, but you have to have the power.
I really don't think that Ned's going into the dark, into the mystical arts.
I
mean, do you understand? I don't think the MCU could handle the power duo of Wong and Ned.
And Jacob Belmont.
You cannot stop that power duo.
All that power.
Could you imagine them going back to the Shang-Chi fighting ring and them being the tag teaming? Unreal.
That would be badass.
I agree.
Do you think it's...
Oh, go ahead, Brittany.
I was just going to say, I think the Marvel and DC universe, and I guess you can rope Star Wars into this too, but like these fans, I mean, you guys included, get so overhyped about these movies, and then you spoil it for yourself because you like can't contain it.
Hand up.
I know.
Yes, I don't want to know anything if you go on Twitter. Like, maybe I just want to know this. It's so bad.
I am so guilty of that. It is unbelievable. I'm pretty sure I know the plot to the Batman before it's come out already.
Like why can't you just wait till it comes out and just
Well,
watch it and just be like
the news
surprised?
The news is so depressing.
Okay. I'll say this. Like I said in the beginning, like I'm not really that annoyed by spoilers because it's the nature of the beast of what we all do is we love this information. Like we want to see how the movie's progressing because like we've been with Spider-Man for 20 years. I really want to see them do well with it. And like fans like the Snyder Cut, like the fans can really make stuff move. I guarantee you that when they did Spider-Man 3, when they first sat down to write it, that they were not gonna they had no intention of bringing back Toby and Andrew until like someone said it, sparked it, caught fire, and they're like, well, you can do that.
You know what I will attribute that to, which sounds crazy, but what I will attribute that to is when the original commercial came out for Sonic and people threw a hissy fit and they were like, absolutely not, we will not go through this movie. Then they literally changed the whole thing.
They literally had to change the whole thing.
And then it did amazing, and now it's got a sequel.
That was a video leak.
Yeah, and so I think and now it's got a sequel, and it did great the first one, and so
dude, that cast is stacked.
They've basically taken fans incorporation into like, what do you really want to see? Because I mean, they're not like these people sitting in a boardroom writing the story and selling this pitch, like they're not gonna like make $600 million unless people really want to go see it. So
yeah, I mean, I hate to compare this again to bring up Sex and the City, but it is comparable to the audience of the female version of Sex. Like people were wanting to see certain things and not wanting to see certain things for the Sex and the City reboot. People are very unhappy with how everything's played out. So
Game of Thrones,
I get it. Yeah, you're right.
Game of Thrones, another one. I didn't even watch it,
and Star Wars too. I feel like Star Wars fans, like they have it in their head what they want, and when they don't get it, they get very upset.
Star Wars fans don't like anything. I think
the Star Wars fans
don't like anything.
Star Wars fans, and I've said this to you on the in person case. Star Wars fans can't bitch about something being bad because there's no source material that like predates the movies that they're made. Like George Lucas made this movie back in the day, and they built that universe on it. So you can make up any language, you can make up anything.
There's also thousands of fan fiction books that have been created and
after that,
and created TV shows, and like there's literally no backstory for any of it. And so they love the first two original stories, and that's it.
Yeah, like okay, fine, but that's why they can keep pumping out Disney Pluses, which I can't wait for either. But I digress.
I want to piggyback on something that you said earlier, Jack, because someone on comicbook.com said that they don't think that this original idea for the third one really had the idea of bringing back Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield. They think that kind of got sparked somewhere down the line, but not in the beginning. They don't really think that's where it was gonna go. And once they realized they could make it work, they had a lot of faith in John Watts, and I think it's probably why he ended up getting like Fantastic Four too, because he's going to do that for the MCU as well.
Good.
Good.
So he had a lot of faith in what he could do, and then it was like, okay, how can we secure all these people? But like, I mean, I'll give them credit for the most part, they kept getting them all a secret because I didn't really like. I mean, it was floating around, but like the fact that they were going there to like shoot and all this stuff, like they were able to kind of keep it a secret for a little bit until it's just hard to contain all that. I mean, there's a bunch of big stars on one set, and I know they have strict rules for not leaking stuff, but someone's bound to do it. Like, I mean, they were doing it this week. They were doing it over the weekend. People were leaking scenes of it on YouTube. Like,
it's already online.
The movie on YouTube.
Yeah,
it's already online.
When it hits one theater, it's online.
Well, yeah, that's what I love. It's what I love about the internet too. It's like I really, really need to watch it again. But
James, please tell me that Miles Teller has signed on for this next Fantastic Four.
You want some Miles Teller redemption?
Oh, absolutely not.
Why is there going to be another Fantastic Four?
Why not?
Everyone loves the Fantastic Four.
Are
and
you
both
serious?
Movies sucked.
Hold on. Are you saying that the original one with Jessica Alba were not good?
No, but the last one bombed.
Okay, well that one was god awful.
With Jennifer Lawrence.
Don't even get me started. Please.
Wait, she's in there?
I'm just
No,
saying
look,
it bombed, and they're allowed. This is what we've been talking about on this podcast, is that movies like this can get remade with like no, like it doesn't matter. These movies can get remade, but like Ghostbusters, after they've made a female version, they're like, no, never again unless it's back to a male cast. And like now here we are, a Fantastic Four go around
We
again.
should switch all the genders. So the guy is the invisible one. And
Oh
then-
no! You really want to see a fan movement? You switch the genders of the Fantastic Four. See what happens. They actually do that in the first one. They switch powers with the Silver Surfer and all that crap.
Right.
Oh, that's right. Wait, no, the first one was just Doctor Doom.
No, the second one, I mean, Silver Surfer.
Yeah.
I didn't.
All right,
think
gonna
that was
remember
very-
this
back
conversation.
back to Spider-Man. Put us in a room together and start doing weird stuff.
Yeah, I was also very happy with it paid off in a lot of ways, really emotionally too. Like I wasn't, because like I read some reviews where people were like, oh, like it made me cry, I did this, and I was like, well, whatever. I mean, it's not in game, calm down, guys. But then there were a lot of big emotional payoffs in it. Like I wasn't expecting. I mean, I guess he had to lose someone. I just wasn't expecting to be like Aunt May, I guess.
Hey, guys.
And I should, because they gave Marissa Tomei much more screen time in this movie than they did in the first two. Like she's in it a lot. They're trying to make us like remember who she is and why we care about her.
Well, people know who she is because it's Marissa Tomei. But the second that she said "with great power," I was like, she dead.
Oh, she's
She dead.
Yeah, but okay, I'll speak of the two emotional parts that I really thought were like really moving. Was this May dying? Like that's terrible because he had to leave. He was literally getting shot at, and he got
shot. I in the theater. I was like,
excuse me. Yeah, he literally got shot, so he had to leave.
Yeah.
So he couldn't that sucked. But that also wants me. I really do want to know what the hell happened to Ben. I mean, really want to know what happened to Ben.
Oh, and
Uncle Ben. Yeah, still on. I still love the classic one. And then when he's beating the crap out of William Dafoe on the Shield.
Yeah,
that might have been top 5 comic book scenes for me, like up there with Superman First Flight and the warehouse scenes like of Batman. Like those were some punches thrown, bro.
Yeah,
and that was all that rage, man. Hurt, you felt it all in that.
And then Tobey Maguire stopped him with just like the death stare. He's like, "Don't do this."
And this, yeah, and this is Toby's just full circle again. Like he stopped him from being a killer. Like when it didn't, like he said, it didn't help that the guy that killed Ben died. Like didn't get me what I wanted.
I love the humor that Marvel's able to add into it, where Andrew Garfield just goes, "Hey, like, are you okay?" And Toby says, "Well, I just got stabbed in the heart."
Yeah.
So I heard it hurts a lot.
Yeah, they were able to throw in a lot of humor, even though like, and the humor actually worked. Because sometimes the Marvel humor like, people complain about.
Yeah,
it's bad sometimes.
But I actually thought it actually works. Like when he was talking about like the Avengers, and they were like, "Well, what's the Avengers?"
Oh,
like,
that was funny.
And they're like, because the Avengers don't exist in their universe at all. They never.
Are you in a band?
So yeah, I thought that was really funny. And like I said, I also loved like they all kind of had their redemption. Like Tobey Maguire got to stop him from doing something that he didn't necessarily get to do in his movies. Andrew Garfield got to save the girl, and he couldn't save his girlfriend in his movie. It's funny because it's trending on Twitter now that because Andrew Garfield is so beloved in this, that they want there's a hashtag that says make the Amazing Spider-Man 3. Like they want him back in it because like I don't know. I've always thought he was a fan favorite. I've said it since the day he started, but I'm glad other people are like speaking on it now because he deserves another.
I also love the the sort of little quips about how Tobey Maguire doesn't need web shooters.
Oh, and yeah, there's a lot of
they're like, does it come out of anywhere else?
Okay, that's where the Marvel writing got me. I was like, God damn it, because Peter just goes, so does it come out of anywhere else? I'm like, oh, come on, man. Like, really? Like,
it got a big laugh.
Yeah, of course it gets a good laugh, but still, like, oh, we're in the middle. We're about to throw down some hands.
Shoot some
leading into the last fight.
I want to get to there, and then like kind of where do you think it goes? All this goes from here.
Yeah,
towards the future.
I would say the last fight was choreographed phenomenally. Them landing on the head of the Statue of Liberty, like in the trio. Yeah. If I could get that as a computer background, I would. I guarantee that's gonna be a tattoo somewhere. And then it worked out perfectly. Like all of the Spider-Man fought their respective villain and kind of beat him or saved him. Like the Sandman is just a human now when he goes back.
Yeah.
Electro is just a human when he goes back.
Going back to be what, a convicted
Human when he
Isn't
goes
that
back.
what it is?
They're all saved. So it turns out like good. So I mean, it was a wonderful. It was insane too to see them all like creating webs and everything.
I did love when Jamie Foxx was human again, and like Andrew Garfield was like talking to him, and he was basically trying to say like you have all this power, and he was like going through Queens, and he's like, I just assumed you were black. he was like, oh, okay, I'm sorry to disappoint you.
And I'm so shocked they did that. Like a
I thought that was funny.
So shocked. I thought it was hilarious. Like it was perfect.
I think Jamie Foxx is the only one that can drop a line like that. And you're like, all right, I got it.
That's the humor I love. That's the humor where you acknowledge that type. You acknowledge it. Like it's funny. You know, I thought, dude, hey man, just an athletic dude swinging around Brooklyn, Queens. Not true black, man.
But yeah, I like the whole climax because like usually those can be like CGI like mess where it's just like you don't really know what's going on. But I thought they actually did a really good job of like keeping it all kind of contained, and it was really emotionally gratifying. Like, there was like a lot of stuff in the fights that weren't just for like money shots and stuff like that. Everything meant something in that last battle, and they all got to have their moment, which was good. It wasn't just just one of them. They all got to have their moment to shine, and kind of you're reminded of why you love the original two and why you love Tom Holland now.
Yeah, seeing all three of them together, it's like also like Toby is like I'm assuming everything now in this freaking multiverse is on one like timeline of everything. So Toby is probably like now 35. Andrew is probably like 26, and then Tom's like 18. So you see like all the different versions of Spider-Man that like Stan Lee put him as like a 15-year-old kid. And then, so it's really nice to see the generational thing at the end too. It was really, it's freaking awesome movie, man. It's so damn epic.
I liked how they incorporated the arc reactor too. I think that was cool to really make that stand out for Jamie Foxx's character. Like, but when we were going back to like ranking the villains, gosh, it really made me realize I would be deathly afraid of Doc Ock. Like that dude can cause some destruction, and then Harry Osborn, man, like that dude needs to be locked in an institution. Like,
well, not anymore. He's good now. He's fine.
Yeah, Norman Osborn and Doc Ock, because they're both mentally unstable too. I think that's what makes them really scary. Like they go in and out of being like, oh, like okay, he's cool. I think he's gonna help us do this like science project, and then like just snaps. Like so, like they're just unpredictable. I mean, that's what makes them kind of interesting as villains in general. Mm-hmm. I am curious to know where you guys think, depending on who you ask, as far as like if they're going to be more, they're going to be more. But Tom Holland has given answers all over the place about what he was.
Say that.
And then Amy Pascal, who's a producer, has given her original answers, like, oh, we're making 3 more. And I'm sure someone was like, nah, we haven't agreed to that yet. So she's like dialed back on that. But they have said that the Marvel and Sony like arrangement is going to stay intact. They're not going to have people go through what they went through before after Far From Home, where they're like, oh, like parents are breaking up. Like it's all going to stay together. I thought the way the movie ended, it could easily end this trilogy for them. It may not end it on like the best note for people that want to see more of like where they go. But I thought it could be like a bittersweet ending that ends there. Or where do you kind of see it going as far as what's next for him and the rest of the characters? Do they incorporate Ned and MJ into future stories, or does he go on and have other stories with other people?
So I will say this: love is more powerful than magic. It is proven once in every movie. Whoever gets mind wiped or something, you know that MJ deep in her bones knows who Peter is, and there's something there. So I would say, yeah, like he got the comic accurate suit, he got his montage of flinging around the city like they all do. I would love, and I think this is like the smart move on Disney's part, capitalize on Into the Verse and just give Tom like a Keaton Batman movie where he's the one last mentor and he passes it to Miles.
Tom Holland kind of wants to do that. I think he really wants Miles.
He needs to give it to Miles. Just like Jamie Foxx, I thought True Black, like just put him Miles in, man.
Do it.
Shit, that'd be awesome.
I think so too. I mean, are there a lot of villains that are written for Miles Morales, or do you think they would be
Kingpin?
Yeah.
Dude, you got D'Onofrio. Guarantee you he's gonna get the first 20 minutes of Hawkeye on Wednesday, and then you can easily put him into something like that. But Kingpin, yeah, man, dude. And then Kraven the Hunter as well.
Yeah. They're giving him his own movie too. So.
Yep. With who's that? Joe Manganiello.
No, it's Aaron Tyler Johnson's playing him. The guy who was in Savages. And,
oh yeah, right, yeah. Blackbeard. That guy dude is a savage.
I personally need all three of them to kind of end up back together. I'm throwing Ned in there too because I'm rooting for the best friend as well. I like the characters are what's important, and I kind of want them to kind of, even though I know they can introduce other characters that Peter can meet and kind of have relationships with, but I really think fans would be upset if they don't figure out a way to.
Well, also he doesn't need to have his own movie. He can be in Daredevil's movie.
Yeah.
You know, he can be on Disney Plus. So, I mean, I think
you could have a show with Wong.
You don't need to have Tom can just do 40-minute episodes from now on. Like that's people are happy with that. Why not?
Well, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of negotiating of contracts because this movie made a ton of money. It probably will be the first movie of the pandemic to gross $1 billion globally. Yeah. A lot of money is. I'm sure Sony was cracking bottles of champagne, and so was Marvel and Disney and everyone.
Tom Holland.
They're all laughing to the bank. They probably all have Spider-Man.
Zendaya is like, I've been like 2 really big movies this year, like for her. Like they're all doing very well, and I'm glad that we were all happy with the outcome. I think it is the best Spider-Man movie. I don't know if I think it's the best MCU movie. I still have Endgame above it a little bit, but maybe I have to see it again. That would maybe like kind of change my mind on that.
So you're putting it top 5 all MCU?
Yeah, top 5. Yeah, okay. I probably put it behind Endgame right now, but maybe if I saw it again, it might change.
Yeah, I go top 5 too, 100%. Yeah, I think that's very fair. I put Infinity War and Endgame as one movie. I'm sorry. It's just,
I kind of agree because I thought Infinity War.
Writing in Infinity War is so good. The writing in Endgame is not as good. It drives me nuts because like it's just one movie. So I put that two together. So and then I think I put this too. Yeah, for sure. 2. And then debating on from there, I won't go down that rabbit hole.
What about you, Owen?
I mean, looking back on all the Marvel movies, there's more that I revisit than others. I think it's the kind of thing where I wonder where I would watch this again. And I have consistently watched Infinity War and Endgame like all the time. And it's something that feels just, if I want to feel good and like kind of see some superheroes fuck some shit up, then I'm in. This felt more to me like a conclusion for one character, which it is, but in the scope of 3 different actors. But I feel like it would take me, like, as soon as I finished Endgame, I was like, I want to watch it again. I didn't necessarily feel that with this. So I would definitely put it top 5. I think it was great. But in totality, like, I thought Iron Man original is probably up there before this. And, like, just some, like, classic movies that, I don't know. There's just some that are better than others. And I think this is top 5, but I don't think it's above. It's still too new for me to say that.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it does need a rewatch too. I mean, that's probably why
it definitely deserves a rewatch. But I mean,
well, I gotta hit your brother up, Brittany, because he's seen it twice, and I'll see what he has to say.
Yeah, I should have talked to my brother about it and just spewed off all of his opinions instead of mine.
Yeah, just like he could have lived vicariously through you.
Yeah.
So we're gonna do this a little quick because we started the whole Back to the Blockbuster approved thing with Sandra Bullock a couple weeks ago. We were gonna do another one last week, but that's when Owen was sleeping, so we couldn't. We're doing Jared Leto for this one, and I'm going to do it a little differently than going down his whole filmography. I think we all kind of know his filmography and how we feel about him, good or bad. Jack, don't go too long, but since you are the guest, I want you to kind of explain why, if you do like him, and give us some examples as far as performances and stuff, why you think he's good, and if you give him your stamp of approval or disapproval. I'm already looking at Brittany, and I can tell where she's gonna go.
All right, so off the bat, I give Jared Leto my stamp of approval. I will say I remember, like, I first recognized his greatness in Dallas Buyers Club when I legitimately thought they just cast a woman. Mm-hmm. So, like, to have that dedication to do that, alongside Matthew McConaughey, kind of stand up with him. I mean, it's incredible. And then I'm not biased in this one, but I like Jared Leto's Joker, which is very controversial in the world, super controversial. I loved his look, and I actually have a tattoo like of that type of Joker style. So I love that about him. He's just very dedicated and like goes in on his roles. And then you just look at the proof in the pudding. of like back in the day. Like he was in like little roles that you didn't notice until like you saw it again. Like Lord of War, he's Yuri. He's Yuri's brother, who's just like this crazy little freaking guy. Or he's the dude who gets killed but Badge Bateman knocks him off in American Psycho. He's just been around a long time, and he can go anywhere and with any role. Like you say Jared Leto, you're gonna get excited about what he's gonna do with the role. Like look at House of Gucci. He doesn't look like Jared Leto at all. It's one of the better transformations. So dedication, range. If you haven't seen the Joker nightmare scene, like go watch that to give yourself a little more credit on him. That's it for me.
So Jack approves. He brought up some interesting examples though that I'm going to use later. Who wants to go next, Brittany or Owen? Who wants to take it?
I mean, I have everything Jack said. I say the opposite.
Oh!
Like literally word for word. Like, first of all, I just want to get into the Joker, him playing the Joker, because he regrets playing that role. Like he full on regrets. Like in interviews, he like refuses to talk about the fact that he thinks he was tricked into signing a contract to be the Joker. So he like regrets playing the Joker.
It was the Riddler.
And the fact that he sent condoms and like anal beads to like all of his co-stars.
Yeah, no, I'm not approving of that. We're not approving of that, but
fucking sick.
Okay, yeah, I'm not approving of those antics. Okay, just not approving of those. But if we're gonna call out this Joker, I really have to. No, I'm gonna keep this fun.
He called himself first. Okay, well, he called himself out. He said that he regrets playing that role, that he was tricked into it. You're not tricked into playing any role that you ever play. Like you sign a contract, you go through processes.
He's tricked into playing a pawn in that horrible cut up Suicide Squad movie, where apparently there's 48 minutes of footage that they could have used.
He's a grown-ass man. He knew the contract he was signing. He knew what he's signing up for. And
in the cut, you don't have control over the cut.
I thought you were done, Jack.
You riled me up.
Oh, this is great.
Right. So anyway, I was trying to find a paper that I wrote because he played in Mr. Nobody, and I wrote a paper on it, and I can't find it. But that's the only movie that I actually do like of his. I just think House of Gucci was so bad. Like the movie was good, but his character was a caricature. Like it was laughable. He was like Mario mixed with like Christopher Walken. And it was like so hard to watch. Like it so bad. Lady Gaga was the only good part about that movie, and Adam Driver. Trying to think what else I had about him. His music sucks.
His music sucks.
30 seconds.
He does not get my stamp of approval, like at all. He just like he's in 30 Seconds to Mars.
Yeah, he's the lead singer of his 30 Seconds to Mars.
Him and his brother, I think.
Brittany gonna shot him down. That's what
I've just heard, and he has a lot of lines about him too, like on set, just being like a total fucking diva and just like not being nice to anyone, and just writing it off as him playing character, where he's like, oh, I'm not nice like in person with crew because I'm acting as my character. Like, okay, what was your excuse in Fight Club? You played like you had 4 lines in that movie. Like you had no right to be a dick to anyone.
Another great appearance from the guy right there. He's angel face, baby.
They could have had anyone play that role and it would have been the same. He doesn't contribute anything to that role.
I'm just still annoyed that you just Owen, you're up.
Oh, and you're
all right.
I guess I'm done.
Nope.
Well,
no, I'm done.
I think that Jared Leto's earlier stuff was fantastic. I think his cameo roles, not even necessarily cameo roles, because it was just like smaller parts like American Psycho and Fight Club. He wasn't the center of attention, and so he was able to really be a part of a movie and contribute something that was like perfect. And then Dallas Buyers Club happened, and he was absolutely amazing in that. I think he deserved the Oscar that he won for that, for sure. But I think after that, he started taking himself a little too seriously. And when he became in the spotlight, I think he starts trying way harder than he necessarily needs to. And it's obvious on screen. And so I think that sometimes I can see him trying to be this character, but he's trying so hard that as I'm watching the movie, I'm like, dude, you're an actor. I can tell you're acting right now. When he had these smaller little parts, he was able to, I wouldn't say necessarily blend in the background because he did stand out, but when he's the center of attention, I'm excited to see how he's going to be for Morbius because is the lead for that, and it does look pretty chilling and pretty cool. So I'm interested to see how that's going to work, but I just think anytime he's been the center of attention after he won the Oscar, he's been kind of a nightmare.
He's amazing in Blade Runner 2049. I forgot to mention that was one of my more better parts he's put.
So you're with Brittany.
I'm gonna sit my ass right on the fence.
You can't do that. You have to choose.
Because I'm in the same boat as you, but
it's very uncomfortable, and I'm gonna sit there.
You're gonna sit on the fence?
Yep.
Picket fence, fine.
You don't know if you okay.
It's a chain link barbed wire.
It hurts to like him.
Yeah.
Hurts to lean to one side or the other.
Yep, exactly. Either way, I'm like, no.
I hope it does, Owen. I hope it does hurt to sit there.
Hurts. It hurts.
Hope it scratches your ass. I liked a lot of his early stuff. Like I love Requiem for a Dream. I think that's a great movie, and he's good in it. I like Panic Room, Fight Club. Everyone's mentioned that. Dallas Buyers Club. He was great. I have an issue sometimes with people who talk about being method actors, as if that. I kind of agree with Brittany, as it gives them an excuse to like behave a certain way. On the Suicide Squad thing is questionable, right? Because there's like a lot of proof that like a lot of his stuff was cut, and like it's hard for me to like judge that performance because Warner Brothers chopped the shit out of it, and like I can't really like judge him on that. But it's hard for me not to like pay attention to some of his antics when it comes to the roles he chooses. Like we were talking when we talked about House of Gucci like a couple weeks ago. He told Ridley Scott the only way he would do the movie is if he could like basically do whatever he wanted, and what he ended up doing feels like he's in a completely different movie from everyone else. Like it comes off more goofy than good. And I kind of agree with Owen, like the stuff that he's done lately, it just doesn't kind of live up to like a lot of the kind of early promise that he had. I'm not gonna sit on the fence. And this is a slight me tipping over the fence. I'm slightly disapproving of him only because of the recent stuff that he's done. Like it's more like I'm not a fan of anyone who is like a method actor. It always rubs me the wrong way because you hear stories about how they act on set. I mean, I guess certain people can get away with it, right? Like Meryl Streep talked about how she was method on The Devil Wears Prada. Like she didn't really get to know Anne Hathaway until after they wrapped that movie because she really felt like she couldn't become nice to her because she wanted the performance to work. I mean, I guess certain people can get away with it. She's Meryl Streep. I don't think Jared Leto needs to get method on every single thing that he does now. And it kind of takes away like it takes something away from the movie for me, where it's just like I want to pay attention to how good the directing is and the writing and all that stuff. And here he is sticking out like a sore thumb, just like looked at me acting. And that's what it kind of comes off as. I do, like I said, I do like his early stuff. I thought he was great in Dallas Buyers Club. I thought he deserved that Oscar. It's just the latest stuff is not. I can't really.
You guys didn't like him in The Little Things?
I can't. So I actually like that movie, but it was again the same issue I had where it felt like it's just the method. I just don't like. It's just like I can just tell that he's just trying so hard to like.
He also like he's also one of those kind of guys, and I think maybe this is why he triggers me, but he's like the kind of guy that like I went to film school with, who like loves film so much. He's like such an altruistic person that he like studies film so hard that he tries too hard to be that actor because he loves film so much.
He tries to be the textbook.
Yeah.
Oh, I will say one thing on method acting, and we'll get out of there. On the topic, Brian Cox from Succession, he made a comment because Jeremy Irons, the other main character, he's a full-on method actor, and his character is just a big old baby, like a big crybaby. And Brian Cox, like in interviews, is like, that's not acting. Like that's literally losing yourself for months on end in a headspace. Acting is turning it on and off, like classically trained acting, like they do, like British, like all those British motherfuckers, actors.
They're just trained,
They know they turn it on and off. Christian Bale as soon as the camera turns off. Yeah. So that's all.
He throws his body, but not his like mind.
Yeah, like he's still like. But imagining that, I don't want to see him as Dick Cheney just talking like Christian Bale.
So we got two disapprovals, one straddling the fence, scratching his butt, and then one approval from our guest. But it's good for you standing your ground, though. I mean, I can see why someone would like him and think he's like. Because, like I said, his early stuff I really do enjoy. It I just can't.
All of your points are valid. Some of his answers is absolutely just like stop. But like for me, his Joker is just so interesting to me. We're not gonna get into this. Nope.
I know. Yeah. So we have to wrap up soon. But since this episode will come out on Christmas Eve, we're just gonna like rapid fire. We're gonna give 2 Christmas movies that you must at least try to watch on the day or leading up to the day that are like your go-to choices. And we did this League of Cinephiles thing yesterday for another group. My number one, everyone shit on because they were like, oh, everyone like loves that. Like pick something else that's unique. And I was like, don't shit on my movie, man. But we'll let Jack go first. You can start with your second first, and then like what do you like have to watch during the holiday season?
You're cutting me off at the ankles with this too, because I had a third one that was actually going to be a really good one. I'll do the third one just because. So growing up in the Northeast, Christmas means winter time and snow time to me. And Owen, you probably had a snow day, or so if you had a snow day, like those days are magical. Mm-hmm. And on TV this week was Snow Day by the Nickelodeon Studios.
It's great.
It was, and I stopped what I was doing and I watched the whole entire thing with commercials. And was just like, oh my God, this is one of the best winter.
The flavored snowballs that they have.
Oh snowballs, the whole entire mix up with the thing, and then obviously like the rom-com of like the 2 best friends obviously love each other at the end of and the Snowplow Man. It was on all-time holiday movie. Like it gets the parents' perspective, like, fuck, I'm with these kids trapped inside for a day when I should be going to work. All time, like you should rewatch that because it's Nickelodeon Studios. No one knows what they do anymore. And then number 2, Home Alone. Number 1, I mean, 20 years down the line, anytime I hear the word Kevin in my head, it's just there's an exclamation point at the end of it. And then
Owen kind of looks like Kevin right now with your hat on.
It looks like him when he's going out to go get groceries from the store.
I'm not really a big Christmas movie guy, so like I'm thinking right now, like I'm going back to my childhood days right now. It's a Disney Channel movie that I can't remember. It's like old school Disney Channel movie.
With the snow machine?
Yes. With like, yeah, they have that movie. While you guys go through, I'm going to find it, but I'll come back to it. That's my favorite movie. It kind of captivates like 12-year-old me sitting on the living room floor with the tree and knowing that the Christmas, like the presents are coming in like 2 hours from the closet, not the chimney.
What's yours?
Me? Okay, well, I have my top 2.
The ultimate Christmas present.
Yeah, I do remember that. That was an OG Disney movie. So my top 2, so I am Jewish. But I do like Christmas movies. But one of my favorites that my friends and I, just reminds me of when I was little, like snow days and stuff. My friends and I would watch this movie over and over again, 8 Crazy Night, because the soundtrack was like so good. And we would just go around singing the songs. One of my best friends, Angie, we like every time I'm back home, we play that soundtrack in the car and we just like drive around in the winter and just like listen to that soundtrack. It's so good. My number 1 is probably Christmas Vacation. That's a classic one. I know I thought it might be on you guys' list too, but it makes me laugh. It's the most quotable movie too. It's so funny.
It's in my top 5. I don't know if I would put it like top 2, but like it's in my top 5.
I've already watched it once this season. I'll probably watch it again.
Nice.
Soon.
All right, Owen, what do you have to watch?
For me, number 2, definitely, I've already said it before, Muppet Christmas Carol, man. That's the best Christmas movie.
I knew you were going to say that one.
Love it. And then number 1 is my mom's favorite Christmas movie that I have loved and I've watched multiple times each year. The original Grinch, man, the cartoon. That dude's a genius on stealing toys and seemed like he had some fun doing it. So it was really cool I just love that movie. It's short, it's quick. His heart grows 3 times the size and then he carves the roast beast, man. It's a good one.
Love it. This fluctuates, but I've number 2. I'm going to get shit for this because I picked the holiday before, but number 2, Love Actually. I watch every year now because
Love Actually.
Yeah, I love Love Actually.
I love it too.
All right, no, I just out of all the movies, not the one I was expecting you to put down. All right,
very well written.
It's really well done, and the British actually got that right. We tried to do that kind of movie here with Valentine's Day and New Year's Eve, and we failed miserably. So they clearly do the multiple story arc romantic comedy better than we do. And it just feels like Christmas when you watch it too. I mean, that's kind of where I like it a lot. And then I'm gonna be cliche and like Home Alone. I watch Home Alone multiple times leading up to Christmas Day. Since I grew up with it, it's just like a big part of my life. It continues to be. Also, we talk about movies that are generational. I think even kids like now will see that movie and find something to like love about it. It kind of has a timeless quality to it. And like even though like I don't think Home Alone 2 is as good because it feels like it's the same movie, like kind of rehashed, and that also kind of gets the Christmas vibe, right? Especially with the New York setting and stuff. But yeah, it's not quite Christmas without Home Alone, I think.
It works.
And 8 Crazy Nights.
Yeah, they Crazy Nights if you're Jewish.
Gotta throw in a Hanukkah movie.
Throw in a Hanukkah movie. But yeah, this was fun, guys. Jack,
Yeah.
thank you for coming on, by the way.
Thanks, Jack. Guest number 2, first solo guest.
Yeah, first solo guest. Yeah, and also talking about Sex and the City because you contributed to that conversation as well.
I tried to stay. That is just a dangerous one to come on. First thing we talk about is a Me Too movement thing. Woo! Yeah, thank you guys.
I was like, I can't leave with Spider-Man and then talk about that. So I was like, let's just get that out of the way and then go into as we're gonna let Owen sign us off.
Yeah, guys, this has been a great time. I'm sorry I missed last week. I'm good to be back. I always love talking to you guys on Monday nights, and Jack, good to have you. And as always, we are a Playlist original. You can find us anywhere that we do podcasts, anywhere that you want to listen to a podcast, Google, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. If you want to see me in my Home Alone look, you can check us out on YouTube. We have a YouTube channel as well. And as always, Brittany's dog makes an appearance. So if you want to watch a cute dog while we talk about Spider-Man, please check us out. So really appreciate you guys being here. I can't wait for next week. And Merry Christmas, guys. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, guys. Happy New Year.
Stay safe.
Thank you, guys.
Don't get to bed.
Yeah.